Hello folks, Brandon Schaefer here, and in front of me I have my palette with some wet paint that I just squeezed out a minute ago, and I mixed up some dark green. The reason I did that is because I just painted a dark green spot here, just for hopefully by the time I get to this will be dry. So that's the whole point of that. I have two brushes here soaking in some water. I just used this one to paint with, so I'm done soaking that one. And this one, it's warmish hot water, and I just soak them before I start painting. That's what I always do. People ask me that all the time. How much water do you use? How much do you use for, do you re-dip it in water? Well, I take it out and I dry it on this towel. I get it as much of the water off as I can. I don't want it dripping wet, and I leave it a little damp to the touch. And then I go into paint, mix it up, and put it on. That's what happens. And usually the first layer, as you can see here, is a little see-through. It doesn't cover as well, and it's a little bit wetter than normal than I would like it. But that's okay, because it's the first layer you put on. Acrylic painting is a process of layering. So the first layer is usually a little transparent, especially with green, because it's mostly yellow. Yellow is a transparent color. Usually a lot of the acrylics are transparent. Phthalo blue is very strong, but it can be transparent, along with the reds, depending on how much you use of it and how thickly you want it to cover. I don't mind this transparent kind of look. It shows the brush strokes. It's very artistic and expressive. If you don't want this, then you wait for this to dry, and then you go over it again, and you'll get it covered perfectly. Anyway, this video I want to show to be about blending, because I get endless emails, questions. All I ever hear about is blending. How do you blend? How do you have enough time to blend, etc.? All this stuff. And I think I think a lot of people are thinking that blending is like oils or something, and that acrylic stays wet forever. It dries very quickly. And I think blending is really overrated, I think. People think that, how much do you really blend in a painting? Let's take a look at a piece I have here. How much did I really blend in this? Everything is just layered on top. I probably blended some of this together back there. Not much of the sky is blended. What else is really blended? Maybe some of this water, it was all wet when I was doing it. So you get some nice blends going together, but none of this is blended. It's all layered on top. So there's some nice close-ups of my painting. A lot of this it's not blended together. You layer on top. See the greens there? There's a highlight, and then the mid-tone, and then a dark green. Everything is just layered. But you do it in such a way that it looks like it was blended together. But none of this is really blended. Anyway, it's blended to an extent. It's just hard to explain, but let me demonstrate here. Just give me 1 second and put this on the tripod. Bear with me here. I'm going to zoom this in as close as I can get it. I don't want to... Here, we'll leave it there for now. I hope it's focusing. We'll find out. Just bear with me here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so we get a bigger picture. Like I said, the details isn't that big of a deal. So here I have the brush. Not much water on it, just damp to the touch. There you go. It's a little bit wet, but it's not dripping. There's not a lot of water. And I'm going to go into, I don't know, just some random colors. Let's just do plain blue. So phthalo blue, ultramarine, whatever blue you want, because usually a sky is one of the things that people blend. So I'm just going into some blue. And I got a little bit there, some good coverage on my brush. So there you go. It's not rocket science or anything. You just dip your brush into some paint and kind of play around with it. Go on both sides, turn it over. Okay, so now, blending. Let's start over here. I'm just going to paint in kind of like the top of a sky. So there we go. We got some blue down. Kind of transparent, and that's fine. I'm not worried about that. And have fun, experiment with your brush strokes, make them crisscross, go all the same way. Just be expressive about it. Try out what you like the best. If you don't want any brush strokes, then do your best to do some light, very light pressure and try to get rid of the strokes. But I don't mind the strokes. Anyway, so we got blue on there. And here's what you do. See, I got all that paint off my brush, but there's still some paint there. Now what you do is, see how I can scrub it and there's still paint coming off? That's kind of a dry technique. Even though the brush is a little bit damp, it's a technique called scumbling, or scumble, S-C-U-M-B-L-E. So look that up. It's kind of more for clouds and fog effects, and for lighter colors, more opaque colors. Glazing, it's kind of a form of glazing, but glazing is usually used with darker colors, and it's a liquid, it's a wet thing. This scumbling, you see the difference there. By scrubbing that in, when you scrub, that's how you can dry blend. Now if I got a little bit of white in here, okay, let's just blend, let's do regular blending first. So over here, you can see I just threw that on. Now I dip right into the white. I didn't even clean the brush. You can, it depends what you're trying to do. So now I'll start putting some white down here. And you can see, since I didn't get rid of the blue on my brush, it already turns it kind of blue. So depending on what effect you want, sometimes you do have to clean the brush, throw some white back on there, just plain white. So now since they're both wet, they're going to mix. You blend them together. That's what blending is. So now you get this smooth transition between the dark blue and the white. So that's blending. Now, how much are you going to blend your entire painting like that? I don't believe so. I don't agree with that. That's why I think blending is overrated. I always get comments and questions about it, but I don't think you use blending that much. See, and now that you have a little bit of paint left on it, you can scumble in, scrub in some areas. And that's more of a drier technique for blending. And I'm going to show you that down here once this dries, this green dries. But see, that's how you blend. That's all you have to do. Now I'm going to, just for demonstration purposes, I'm cleaning my brush now. So I got it completely clean. I'm drying it off now real nice on a towel. Sorry I can't demonstrate all this, but it's pretty straightforward. So I got it back to where I had it before. Just damp to the touch. So I'm going to go straight into some white. And then just throw some white down below this. And then blend it up to the lighter blue. So that's blending. Blending is basically very soft edges. Basically no edges, just a smooth gradient, a transition. And the only way to do that is to have everything wet. You want all the paint to be wet. If it starts becoming, you didn't use enough paint, it starts becoming dry, just dip the corner of your brush or just a little tip of it, just dip it in water. It gets a little bit more wet, and then now you can throw it on there a little better. It brings more moisture to the canvas so that you can use the paint. And this scumbling that I did over here, see, this is completely dry, so now I can take some white, just a little touch, and you really want to dry your brush off and then just get a little touch of paint, and you can scrub right over that. And this is where you get very misty effects, but you can also blend See, it doesn't have to be wet and wet. See, I just lightened up that whole area, and it's more of a misty effect. You can tell that this is a lot wetter, and then this is more of a drier kind of cloud effect. And then I can go into some more white and get it lighter, even lighter. And see, that's almost too much, so I wipe the brush off a bit, and then just go back and scrub it in again. A little lighter pressure. And you just keep building up these layers like this. And then you can see how you can dry blend like that. Add highlights where you want. And you get real soft effects. So painting doesn't always have to be, for instance, you don't have to always paint like this. Very hard edge, very bright. You can put that down first, wipe your brush off on a towel, and then come back in here and very softly just scrub that in around, and it just blends it out. Has soft edges. That's what scumbling is. So you get these real nice effects. And you can also blend like this, and then when that dries, you can come back and do the same thing. You can scumble in some things. See, and you won't even be able to tell that. See that? So you can get real nice soft effects. I hope this makes sense. I hope it's making sense to you. So you can wet on wet is when both colors are wet and you do it all at one time. This, I can come back to this hours later once it's dry, get a little touch of white on my brush, and then go back in here and just keep lightening it up real softly, just doing soft edges. Or I can add touches of other color. I can throw in some pink in there, that's really strong. But you get my point. You can blend this out. So now you have a real soft effect. Alright, so let's move on down here. This is completely dry. So what do you do if, let me fix the camera here. So what do you do if something's completely dry like that? Like say you walk away from your painting for a few hours, everything's going to be dry. So what do you do? Well, it doesn't matter. If you want to blend, make blending like that, you can come back, throw in a little bit of this color, a dark green again, where you need it to blend, and blend it in. Or say we're working on a lighter color now, that we're going to blend on this side and blend it in. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to go into some yellow and a touch of white, just because I want a lighter color, and a little bit of blue. So I get a light green. So I have that on my brush now. Hope you can see that. Hope it's focusing. Okay, anyway, there it is. So I throw it on here. Now most of these colors are, like I said, the yellows are going to be transparent. So when you put these on, some of that dark's going to show through, and the edges aren't going to be that harsh with your paint. So what you can do, let's say you throw it on like this, you have some harsh edges. So you can definitely see where I threw on the lighter yellow green. Let me zoom into this a little bit closer. Hope that stays focused. So there you go, you have this. See the harsh edges there? Well, that's not blended in. So that's not blending. That's just regular old layering on. Well, now what you want to do, dry your brush off, and you can get a little bit of that paint back on your brush if you need to. But just start softening the edges. Blend the edges out. so that you don't have harsh edges. That's all blending is you want soft edges like that. Of course, it's not going to be as smooth as transition as the blue up here. But you can get it to that if you'd like. Add some more color on your brush and just blend it out. And just scumble it in. Kind of a scrubbing motion, a little bit of pressure. Just play around with it and vary the different pressures that you use. Add some more paint, more white and yellow, so I can come back here and brighten it up even more. So I hope this is making sense. If you have any more questions, post them down below. But I really wanted to make a video where if someone asks me a question about blending, I can just show them this video and hopefully it would help. So as you can see here, it goes from this dark, it's no longer all dark. It goes up to this yellow green, and I didn't even touch any dark green. Didn't even touch the, didn't even mix up a dark green or anything. Now if I wanted to, I could mix up some of that dark green again. But see, I don't have to repaint the entire thing. I just repaint where it's needed, where I blended down here, so I get some dark green, as you can see there. And then I just throw it on this bottom corner, and then I start blending it, kind of scumbling it outward. And then it'll make, then I go back until, you know, more yellow. Then I start adding that on. And then you can get a better, smoother transition for what you're looking for. But you only needed to repaint this little tiny part. The rest is all lit up more. Of course, if this is a bush in nature, you're going to have highlights all over the place. You're going to have little dabs here, little dabs like that. And then just kind of, you can soften them up. So it's all about brush control, brush handling, and understanding how the paint works, and just playing around with it. But like I said, you can do this misty effect if you'd like, but that's more if it's already dry. See, I couldn't really do scumbling over this now because this is all wet. So once this dries, I could come back over with some white and yellow or white and blue and just scumble in mist over it. So it gives it this foggy, misty effect if I wanted to. So hopefully this made a lot of sense and hopefully it helped. See, now the sky is already it's dry. So I can come back, you know, with any color. I'm just going to do this for demonstration purposes. But I have some white, yellow, pink, whatever. I can get just a little bit on my brush, not very thick. And then I can come back and just put it in as a misty effect. Now sometimes your brush may be too wet or have too much paint. And you'll know if it does, if it starts getting watery feeling to you. You just wipe it on a little towel, dry it off, and then come back in and just keep scrubbing in. See, now I get this real this soft misty effect, excuse me. And sometimes it doesn't cover on the first layer like that. And it's not going to be pretty anyway. But I'm showing you that you can get these real soft effects. Zoom in a little bit there. So you can get these real soft effects just by scrubbing in and using a dry brush and a little bit of paint and just real soft. And it's just glazing over. It's a transparent film of paint. So now that whole blue sky, I just kind of scumbled over it. So that's a different method of blending, if you want to call it that. But anyway, I hope this video was helpful. Post your comments and questions down below. Let me know what you think. And hopefully this cleared some things up for people and what you can do, what you can achieve with acrylics and how to work with them. And anyway, thanks for watching. Take care of yourself. Peace.